What's even the points of college anymore? Like, truly, I feel like college has just progressively gotten more expensive and more useless. Even degrees that are seen as worth it, like computer science degrees, have seemed to lost value. So much, in fact, that even having a CS degree doesn't really secure you anything besides a bed in the homeless shelter. Now, this video isn't me telling you to drop out of college or saying that college has no value. That's up to you to decide. I'm not telling you to drop out of college and to buy my online courses on dropshipping. That's definitely not a scam. But more of a rant from a third-year college dropout who just hated how certain things operated in college. Now, we all know how expensive college is. The total student loan debt balance owed in the United States is over $1.7 trillion. That's not even my main gripe when it comes to the cost of college. By now, people should know how expensive tuition is going to be. Everyone on social media warns you about it. What I didn't know was the accessory costs going to college comes with. I'm not talking like boarding or living on campus in the dorms. I'm talking all the hidden costs and fees associated with going to college. Bro, to park on my campus, you needed a parking pass in order to do so. It wasn't included in my tuition. A tuition that is going to put you in generational debt. You're telling me that in order for me to park near campus, I have to pay $150 a semester to do so. And that's just parking near campus, not even on campus. In order to actually use the parking lots by the main buildings that your classes were actually taking place at, you had to pay more. I'm talking, if you got the basic starter pack parking pass that was already expensive to begin with, you had to deadass trek a few blocks to the suburbs just to get on the outskirts of civilization of your campus. Luckily for me, there was like 2 streets in which had free parking on campus that I was able to use most of the time. But even then, those streets would always be filled with parked cars, and there was like a 2-hour parking limit. Speaking of fees, college just straight up scams you and calls it a student fee. It's like paying convenience fees online when purchasing tickets for a concert or an event. For example, tuition will have its own price, right? $500 per credit or whatever. Then it will say like there's a $60 per credit student fee. Keep in mind, you usually take 50 credits a semester. So do the math. And these are fees you have to pay, no matter what. The excuses college give for these fees is that there are service fees, like you use the student union building, that's a fee. Use the library, that's a fee. Go to the campus gym, that's a fee. One of the problems though is that if you don't use the gym, you're still paying for it, which I don't think is the worst thing, but they overpriced everything. You're telling me my 4-month membership to the campus gym, in which 1 month of those 4 months it's closed because of holidays, equates to $200+. And then the indoor basketball courts are under construction for the year, so you can't even use them. True story, by the way. You're telling me that every online course that I take has an additional $100 fee just because it's online? It should be cheaper. Dog, you're telling me that using the library printer is a $50 fee for the semester? I have probably used the library printer 3 times in my college career. In college, you're literally paying to exist. Every sneeze you take in college comes with a cost. Let's talk about textbooks. Of course, in college, you have to pay for your own textbooks. Tuition doesn't cover anything besides getting in the door, to be quite honest with you. Textbooks are a scam. That's it. They are so overpriced for no reason, just for college to squeeze more money out of their students, especially if you bought them from the campus bookstore. Don't do that. Waste of money. Try to buy used or from a previous student. Luckily for me, at least the 2 colleges I attended, textbooks were only mandatory for a few classes, so I only actually bought like 3 textbooks in college. Allegedly, I might have sailed the high seas for the textbooks I needed for most of my classes, and gotten textbooks for an alarming discount. But I also understand that not every single person who attended college were as fortunate as me. I knew someone who paid $400 for a singular textbook. What I really hated about paying for these overpriced textbooks was when they were like specifically a teacher's textbook, like they wrote it, so you couldn't allegedly pirate them online. What makes this all even worse is when the previous editions of the textbooks are like 10% of the cost, and the only difference between the newest one and the previous one was the illustration on the cover and how the chapters on the books were ordered. Now, I've strictly just been talking about the costs, but there were certain fundamental things about college that grinded my gears. Let's start off with the scheduling. Trying to schedule classes in college was like playing Russian roulette. You could end up getting hoed for no reason. So in college, there's always these standard classes that every single person had to take, no matter what degree you were working towards. Usually they're referred to as your generals. 40 to 50 of your credits for your degree would be allocated to your generals. 120 is needed for a 4 years bachelor's degree. And generals were just simply classes spanning every subject in school. Biology, math, econ, anthropology, etc. You could pick and choose. The problem with this is that certain classes only had a limited amount of spots per semester and time slots allocated for those classes. For example, Writing 101 might have 12 classes of 36 seats available for the fall semester, but then Econ 101 might have 6 classes of 24 seats available for the fall semester. So what would end up happening is that all the afternoon classes would instantly be filled up. I'm talking right when class registration was opened online, all those spots would be gone in 5 minutes, which means if you're a huge procrastinator like myself and only started registering for classes 1 week before school started, you would be left with the dregs of the classes. I'm talking you're taking Anthropology 102 at 8 a.m. on a Monday for 2 hours, or goddamn Astronomy 101 at 4:30 p.m. on a Friday. It was awful. Speaking of classes, my biggest issue for the classes being offered in college wasn't necessarily the class itself, no matter how useless they were, but the people teaching it, especially if it was someone who was foreign. Now, I'm all for immigration. You can tell what race I am, but it is kind of hard to learn anything from someone who can barely speak English or has an accent so incomprehensible it sounds like they're speaking another language. So I'm bad at math. I used to crush the multiplication tables growing up, right? But once the alphabet was introduced into math, I couldn't grasp it. Now in college, since I was so bad at math, I was like taking the entry-level math class offered or like one above it. It was like standard algebra 101. Pretty much algebra you would have taken in high school. I struggled, obviously, but it was made worse by the fact that my teacher had an accent that muddled his words. And not only that, he spoke so fast, it seemed like a run-on sentence was happening every time he spoke. If he spoke in binary code, I would have understood him better. And he never explained his work, or when he did, it didn't help since you couldn't understand him. So no one ever asked him questions because of that. I failed that class. Looking back on it, he could have probably spoken the most concise English known to man. I would have still failed that class. Allegedly, on the final exam, I went to the bathroom and looked up the answers on my phone and still failed the exam with a 41 out of 100.
In the film.
Oh, God.
Just like that. That was, I believe that.
Maybe I was the problem. Overall, college for the price that it is now worth it. If you can get it fully paid by your parents or a full ride on scholarships, I think it is worth going just for the experience and the degree alone. But paying full price for it, especially if you go to an expensive university, I just can't justify the price you would pay for it, even for a good degree. Honestly, the younger generations are cooked. The housing market is bad. Everyone is single. Inflation keeps on rising higher and higher. So good luck. Thanks for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and adios.